You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
And have you watched Squid Game Season 2 yet on Netflix? I binged it all in a day and a half. It's a shorter season. It won't take you much time. I think it's 7 episodes. And that is somewhat disappointing. If you get used to 9 or 13 episode seasons of a TV show, it can be disappointing, but these are all at least an hour. So you're going to get a good 7 hours of content for season 2. I said before, my short review was you have to see season 1. It leads directly into season 2. It tells you everything you need to know going into season 2. If you think you can pick it up at the beginning of season 2, it will be a waste of time. You have to see season 1 in its entirety, or season 2 is not going to make any sense at all. That said, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I didn't like how the season ended. And I don't want to give it away, but it felt like if you saw the Matrix trilogy, at the end of the Matrix Reloaded, it ended at a very odd point. It ended at a high point as far as action was concerned. Squid Game Season 2 does something very similar.
Okay.
Have you seen it yet, Stephen?
I haven't finished it, but just going off what you're saying, because they knew that there's going to be a third one.
Right, which they have recently announced.
Yeah.
It's definitely coming this year. In fact, they dropped a teaser. It doesn't have any real sound that we can play. Yeah, they've already dropped a teaser for season 3. And I'm not the only one who saw it.
Is this new season worth it so far?
Yes.
My problem is this. The way Squid Game ended, the first Squid Game ended, it ended in a way that I said to myself, okay, once it got out of the Squid Game and it got into trying to discover, the secrets behind it, and the guy was like, I want to stop. I was like, okay, I'm only interested in the game.
They got that for you. They got that for you. They are pulling more of those threads as far as who is the sinister force behind the game. What needs to be done? Well, let me put it this way. The beginning of season 2 puts you, it's like 3-year time jump. And Song, who's the principal character, he's using all of his prize money that he won in season 1 to facilitate finding out who is behind all of this. And I'm not going to tell you how he goes about it, but they're showing you all the steps that he's taking. And long story short, he finds that his methods are not working, so he has to do something more drastic. Yeah. Okay. And so it's, yes, I highly recommend it. I just didn't like where they stopped it. I would have rather, let's say season 3 is also 7 episodes. I would have rather seen the 14 than just the 7. I would have waited the extra 7-8 months into 2025 and just got the whole story instead of just part 2 of the story. But I get it. It's a hit. It set a Netflix record.
I'm only 1 episode in, but I forgot how you described it. You just great job of describing Squid Game season 2, but season 2, because you were talking about, how are they going to discuss the shock factor and the game and all this stuff? They kind of they kind of got away from that. Like they just focused on the characters. And
in the beginning of season 2.
In the beginning.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that is key, because it's like you already know the game if you haven't seen it.
But you think you know the game, but you don't know the game.
See, I'm only 1 episode.
There are a lot of misdirections, and you think X is going to happen because you think because you've seen season 1, you know what's going to happen. No, you don't. They got some surprises for you.
You should know that if you're just going into this, it's not like tuning in for another season of Survivor or something. They throw some new wrinkles at this, including one of my favorite tropes in fiction, which is the guy who could get away free and clear, deciding of his own free will to go back into danger because it's something he feels like he has to do.
Yes. That's an apt description. It's almost like you've seen it.
I've got one episode to go.
Okay.
I've seen 6 of the 7.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So I know exactly where you are. It just ended for me at a very inopportune moment. Not that I wanted more, but they really they left you hanging. They really left you hanging.
Like more than the first season?
More than the first season.
Ooh.
Because at least the first season, you knew how the game was going to turn out.
Let me ask you, Mo. The creator said that he was never going to make a second season. But when you get to the end of the first one, there is no way that there couldn't be a second season.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. But they do listen to people like Tuwala saying like, hey, I care about the game. I don't care about the stuff around the game. And Mark knows this. They got something for you. They've got something for you. There's a reason why they're telling, to Mark's point, there's a reason why they're telling a story that you'll see, Stefan, in the first 2 episodes, I think. And then it really picks up speed in episode 3.
I think it's really smartly done, and I like it better than the first season.
I think that's fair. And if you know the first season as far as, well, let's be honest, how violent it was, season 2 is far more violent.
It's shockingly
far
violent.
more.
Are you serious?
Okay.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
For a mainstream TV series that I think the last number I saw was 68 million people had watched it so far, and that was a couple days ago, so it's much bigger now. The violence is really it stops you in your tracks.
And it's not cartoonish. It's violence like, ooh. It's like, oh my gosh. It's like, make it stop.
Yeah, nothing is off limits.
Oof.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm excited now.
Yeah.
I'm one episode in it. It's really good. It's really well done. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So we talked about this before. I want to circle back to it.
Yeah.
Are you watching it in Korean or English?
I'm watching it in Korean. However, it's funny that you brought that up. There were like two scenes that I watched. I watched it all the way through Korean with the subtitles, and then I went back and watched it with the English dub. And to Mark and to Walla's point, you don't really miss a lot. It's just the slang. That's kind of what you miss out on.
Yeah, well, when it's in English, you're getting nothing but American slang. It's like, okay, they had to have changed the dialogue to fit American ears and English audiences.
Yeah.
You know, the profanity which is being used is like, okay, that's an English formulation.
Yeah.
You know, when you say like MFer, it's like, oh, okay, I don't know if that actually translates to Korean, but I got the idea.
Jive turkey, blankety,
Jive turkey.
Yeah, it's the supporting cast, I believe, is stronger than season 1. They're more defined personalities. Season 1, you know, they have like the bully, the gangster.
Yeah.
They have more personalities in this one. And for me, can't speak for Mark. For me, I felt attached to more than just the main character.
They do a good job. The people who wrote this and created it understand that that's your way in, is by people. It's not just about, you know, the game and the killing and the reward. It's about getting you involved in the story of these people who are so desperate that they take up this challenge to begin with.
And it makes sense. It's believable. And as you go through season 2, it's talking about the psychology of people, why they do what they do and what motivates them to make the decisions that they do, which make no sense to us, the non-desperate.
And it is so on point with current events that you'd have to be blind not to notice the similarities, especially when they vote between the games, whether or not to proceed. And so you've got one side that wants to do the safe, rational, intelligent thing, and the other side that wants to do the insane, self-destructive thing, and there's no reasoning with them. And then all the conversations and fights that come about as a result of all that. I think it's pretty absorbing.
Yeah, it's very layered. Sometimes it may be a little too smart for its own good, where, to Mark's point, people may not get all the subtleties and the let's be honest, the messages which the show is imparting. But it's worth a watch, Tuwala. Okay. Definitely worth a watch. It's Later with Mo Kelly. When we come back, we're going to talk about the movies that we're most looking forward to here in 2025.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
KFI Mo Kelly. Had a conversation with Wayne Resnick today, who was in for Bill Handel. And by the way, Wayne announced his retirement from radio today. Tomorrow's going to be his last day on KFI. Yeah, Stefan, for real. Caught a lot of people off guard. But in our conversation, we were talking about the movies and the movie industry as far as how movie theaters are doing. And the main takeaway is, and we've discussed it here, that people are less choosing the movie theater because, look, let's be honest. I didn't see Wicked in theaters, and I know it's available on streaming right now. Movies don't stay in theaters, depending on how old you are. If you go back to the 1980s, you can take a movie like The Karate Kid. That was in theaters about 6 months. And then you had to wait, I don't know, another 6 months before it came out on video, whatever version of video that was available back then. I think it was I think we had the Betamax at that point. And on TV, and select.
Take any movie, because I'm a little bit younger than you guys, but take any movie. It felt like it was in theaters for 6 months.
Easily. That
and
was
then
the
you had to
norm.
wait another 3 or 4 months to get it on VHS.
Yes.
For me.
And part of the reason you knew that if you didn't see it in theaters, you were not going to see it. Now, you may not have seen it immediately. And back then, you had the chance for movies to swell as far as a word of mouth. Hey, you got to go see this. You got to go see that. And you had time to see something. Now, if you don't see it in the first 2 weeks, it may be gone, but that's okay. It'll be on streaming shortly thereafter. I just saw Gladiator 2 2 nights ago on streaming.
What?
Yes.
I
That
just
didn't
bought
take long.
Wicked. I bought
Thank
Wicked
you.
and we watched it over the weekend.
Could not believe that Gladiator 2 was already available.
How long has that been? Less than a month?
Less than a month.
Exactly.
And
it feels like 5 minutes.
to reinforce the point, after I saw it, it's like, yeah, I'm glad I didn't see this in theaters.
I had to go to a
Wicked
theater
and
in
Gladiator
the wee
are
hours.
still in theaters.
I
They're
know.
both still playing.
I know, but you don't have to watch them in theaters. Long story short, that was our conversation. And I also said movie studios are going with the bankable commodities. That's why you're going to see an S-load of sequels, reboots, and remakes for 2025 because they have to make money. You have to have a built-in audience, which is going to see these movies in the 1, 2, 3 weeks tops that they're in an actual theater. You got to see it early or not at all as far as the theater is concerned. Here are some of the, for example, these are just some of the sequels, reboots, and remakes which are coming out this year. Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance, Most Foul. There's Bridget Jones, Mad About the Boy. Mm-hmm. Captain America, Brave New World. This is sequels, reboots, and remakes. Paddington in Peru. I don't care to see it, but someone does.
Yeah.
Snow White, live action. I'm not going to see it, but someone will. But this one I do. Mark, you may want to see this as well. The Accountant 2.
You know, the first Accountant movie really wasn't bad at all. It was a
No.
decent action film.
Well, with Ben Affleck, he plays a neurodivergent accountant by day for the mob and also assassin, kind of like Jason Bourne meets Rain Man. That's the only way I can describe it.
Perfect.
Fair enough.
Perfect description.
And it's a really, really good movie. So if you haven't seen the first one, which came out in 2016, check it out because the sequel is coming out. And this is basically because of fan appreciation. Fans were just asking for the sequel. They had no intention of making it. It was just that fans were just clamoring for it. It's coming out on April 25th. Got the Thunderbolts, which is coming out on May 2nd. And that's, you could say, a sequel to Black Widow and also the Falcon and Winter Soldier
It's a
streaming
continuation
series.
of a story. Yes.
Yeah.
That looks really fun.
It does. It really does. Lilo and Stitch, live action version. I don't know how that's going to work.
The character looks good. The animation on the character looks good.
I'm not going to see it.
I mean, it's not for you, but yeah.
That's true. Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning.
I can't wait.
I can
What?
catch that on streaming.
No,
I really can.
You have got to see the stunts that he's doing.
I
He's
know.
going out major. You know we need to see Tom Cruise risk his life.
And I'm going to watch every Mission Impossible from the beginning leading up to it because there are a lot of threads that they're going to tie off and old storylines. They're going to do all that. So I want to make sure that all the stuff is fresh in my mind. They have Karate Kid Legends, May 30th. Now, this is one, Tuala, I would love to get your input on. How to Train Your Dragon, live action.
I was not a huge fan of How to Train Your Dragon or any of the subsequent animated sequels or anything that happened on the television show, but I know it has a strong audience.
Yeah. 28 years later, I'll probably see that.
That looks really good too. The trailer is surprisingly effective. They've already made 2 of them. You think you know everything that's going to happen, but just frames of the trailer look really well art directed.
Yeah.
And I'll rewatch the first 2, so I'm up to date for the third one. There's Megan 2.0. That has a huge following, coming out June 27th. And something interesting about this, we have a lot of horror, vampire, werewolf movies, all in the winter. Not like it's waiting for Halloween. They're coming out now in the early portion of the new year.
That's because Mark needs something to go see and report on.
Oh, yeah.
That's exactly right. We need more werewolf movies. Lee Wannell is doing one of them, right?
Is that Wolfman?
There's a Wolfman
Yeah.
and like a wolf.
There was a Frank Grillo Werewolves that didn't do well.
That's already been out, and I wanted to see that. But
That's
gonna
already
be
out?
Yeah, it's already out.
Yeah, that's going to be streaming anytime now.
Well, that shows you the
any
marketing.
moment. Check your watch.
I had no idea.
There's one sequel that I have no desire to see, and I say this as a fan of the franchise, and that's Jurassic World Rebirth. There are only so many stories that you can tell about dinosaurs getting loose and eating people, and, you know, you shouldn't have done it in the first place.
But this
Really
is brand
slow
new with
learning
Scarlett
curve.
Johansson.
I'm sorry?
This is brand new and it's got Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah, I heard that. I just don't know if there's any new story to tell. The dinosaurs are the star. They're going to kill people, and, you know.
I don't know if I'm in the minority, but I saw the first one and I was so disappointed.
The reboot, the
Jurassic World.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I saw it with my ex and she was like, it wasn't that bad, but she had a crush on Chris Pratt.
Yeah, it
but
fell off for me.
I couldn't, I was like, no.
They had a chance when they brought back the cast of Jurassic Park, Sam Neill, Laura
That
Dern.
I was excited for.
I was too, and they, you know, they screwed the pooch on that one.
You're better off without that woman, Foosh.
Golly.
Jesus.
There's Superman, obviously, the James Gunn movie, which
Absolutely.
probably is the movie of the year as far as anticipation.
Yeah.
That's July 11th. And they're doing a remake to The Naked Gun. I don't know how I feel about that.
With Liam Neeson, right?
Yeah.
I hate it already.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Poor guy. How
I want
old
that film
is,
to just crash and burn.
what's his age?
He's 70-something. I don't know how old Leslie
He's not-
Nielsen was.
he's not- but
he's not
he's not
funny.
funny.
Yeah, he's not
It's not
funny.
funny about that guy.
The Bad Guys 2 animated. I didn't see The Bad Guys 1.
You know, that's one I actually wanted to ask you about, Mo, because it didn't get a lot of hype.
Nope.
But it got a sequel. So
Sure
did
did.
they do good in the box office?
I have to look it up, but most of the animated films do well enough. There's enough of an audience where if you don't spend $150 million, you can make money off these animated features.
Yeah. It did good. That was a DreamWorks picture. It did really good.
I Know What You Did Last Summer. Oh my gosh.
Again.
Yeah. Here's this movie I do want to see. It is coming up on January 17th. It's called Presence, and it's a ghost story from the ghost's perspective. For me, it reminds me of a movie called The Others, which starred Nicole Kidman.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And you didn't know that you were watching a ghost story. Sorry to give it away, but the movie's 24 years old.
Yeah.
You didn't know you were watching a ghost story from the ghost perspective, but that was the reveal at the end of the movie.
Yep.
This is explicit. Hey, this is a ghost story from the ghost
And
perspective.
it's from Soderbergh, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. That's coming out on January 17th. I do want to see Sinners, which is March 7th. That's Michael B. Jordan. He
Yes.
returns to his childhood home and finds vampires there.
That trailer is phenomenal.
I like new ideas. Don't get me wrong. I love my sequels and reboots, but I love it when you're telling a real different story. And that looks like it could be a really good vampire story.
I mean, it's Michael B. Jordan and Ryan Coogler again. They have a history of nothing but hits, so I'm there.
Jamie Foxx is back, pun intended, back in action with
That's
Cameron
on Netflix,
Diaz.
though.
Oh, it's Netflix?
That's the Netflix.
Oh, okay. Well,
It might even be streaming already, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, it
it says
like,
January 17th. But
Okay, yeah.
You can rent it tomorrow, probably.
Okay. Mark, is there anything that you're looking forward to before we go to break?
Well, you mentioned Soderbergh. He's got another one coming out. I think it's called Black Bag. It's a spy film with Fassbender, who is also in that agency show that you and I are both watching right now.
Look, I might be just simple like this, but I watch just about everything with Michael Fassbender in it.
He's terrific, and if he were a little younger, he would have made a good James Bond.
He would. What is he like? Late 40s now?
I guess, and the Bond of the books is in his mid to late 30s.
Yeah, he looks the part. He
does,
moves
yeah.
like the part. He has enough screen charisma for the part, but we'll never see him. It's almost like I remember with Pierce Brosnan. He was like on the older end of the spectrum for the role, as I remember.
He just looked like a male model to me whose ass you could kick without trying real hard. If you grew up loving Sean Connery and then even Roger Moore, Pierce Brosnan wasn't going to do it for you. But
Look, I liked him better than Timothy Dalton.
Point of contention, yeah. I wasn't a big Dalton fan, but a lot of the fans love him.
It's interesting you say that because when we come back, we're going to talk about the 12 Bond girl names ranked according to Yahoo.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
Saw this on Yahoo. They listed the top 12 Bond girl names ranked. And we're probably going to disagree. And we know that James Bond and Bond girls is kind of an antiquated terminology. I call them Bond girls because that's what they were called back then. Yes, they're Bond women, not trying to disparage, just setting some context and parameters for this. But Yahoo ranked them from least best to best. So we're starting at the bottom and working our way up. Coming in at number 12 of the top Bond girls of all time, according to Yahoo. And I expect commentary from Mark Ronner after each one.
Wait, clarification, please. Are these the top Bond girl names or top
Names.
Bond girls?
Names.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it just says names here. Yeah, just the names. The Bond girl names ranked. Number 12 is Pussy Galore.
How is that not number one?
I have no idea. I mean, you can't get any better than that.
I mean, you've got Holly Goodhead, but that's not as funny.
Where do you go from there?
Oh,
You don't want to know.
right. We got a long list. So Ms. Galore is 12th on this list.
This list is already invalid. Who did this list?
Yahoo.
Yeah.
You'd think it was Variety.
You would think. Yeah, Ms. Galore, not only was it a great name, but it was a great character, actress, performance, all of that. The
Honor-
role in the hay.
Oh, yeah. Honor Blackman was a goddess.
Coming in at number 11 of the best Bond girl names, according to Yahoo. Sylvia Trench.
That's just a regular civilian name. What are they doing?
From Dr. No and from Russia with Love.
Yeah, she just shows up at the beginning of Russia with Love. You wouldn't even know it's her.
Played by Eunice Gayson.
Yeah, she just died recently.
Coming in at number 10 of the best Bond girl names, according to Yahoo. I didn't like the movie GoldenEye, but the name was Xenia Onatopp.
I think that was a real reach. They were trying too hard with Xenia on a top.
Right.
Yeah.
They're just trying to make up syllables and throw them together and make it sound weird, exotic, or sexy.
On the top.
I like it when he says it.
Nothing from Stefan. Absolutely nothing. Nothing.
He's checked out.
No. He didn't think you deserved it. He heard you and he paused. He just didn't want to give you the credit.
It's rigged.
Coming in at number 9 of the best Bond girl names in cinematic history, according to Yahoo. As previously mentioned, in one of my favorites, Holly Goodhead from Moonraker.
Moonraker, yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Not the greatest movie, really.
No. And that's part of the reason why Roger Moore is not my favorite Bond, because I grew up with the Roger Moore iteration of Bond movies. I like The Spy Who Loved Me.
Well, Moonraker is when they got really, really silly, and they felt like they had to compete with Star Wars, and so the first half is kind of watchable, but you can bail after that, and nobody hold it against you.
Yeah, the whole conceit, the whole idea of trying to save the Earth with this laser thing. It just was not a well-written movie.
No.
But that car was fresh.
Wait, in Moonraker?
Yeah.
What car in Moonraker?
Didn't it have the car that was like a
Aston Martin?
Are you talking about the one from The Spy Who Loved Me that went
think it's The Spy
underwater?
Who Loved Me,
The Lotus
yeah.
Esprit?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe so.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that's really cool. And there was a different Lotus, and I think For Your Eyes Only, I forget. A different colored one showed up later on.
Now, I will say the Roger Moore Bond movies had the best theme songs. The Roger Moore ones. From The Spy Who Loved Me, not Moonraker.
Moonraker wasn't bad. I think Shirley Bassey sung that.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, Rita Coolidge's All-Time High from an otherwise crappy movie, that's a decent pop song.
No, it's not bad. Not bad. Coming in at number 8 of the best Bond girl names, according to Yahoo. Which is weird because Tiffany Case does not beat out Pussy Galore.
No, she's from Diamonds Are Forever. Again, that's almost just a regular old civilian name.
It is. Don't get me wrong. Jill St. John. Ooh, fine.
But they thought the name was funny, according to Yahoo, because it's a Tiffany Case.
Also, Jill St. John was kind of nerd royalty at that point. She was in the very first Batman TV episode.
Aren't you just a walking encyclopedia?
Please proceed.
Number
I was just
7.
gonna say.
Live and Let Die's Solitaire.
You know, for Live and Let Die, I'll take Rosie any day over Solitaire. That's Gloria Hendry.
Yep.
And they had she is also a singer. And before the big COVID lockdown, she did a jazz show here in LA. And I went to that, and I'll show you the pictures of me with her. She's still beautiful.
Number 6, and this really, really pisses me off because don't tell me that this number 6 is twice as good as number 12. Stacey Sutton from A View to a Kill. It's all about the Bond girl names, not the performance.
And also, that's when it became so painfully obvious that Roger Moore could be their father or grandfather.
Oh, yeah, and he was checked out too.
Yeah.
Number 5. Anya Amasova, The Spy Who Loved Me.
Oh, Amasova, yeah.
Whatever.
Or no, wait, don't. Yeah, that's
I just remember Anya.
Ringo Starr's wife now.
See, didn't know that.
I always thought it was a mass over.
Barbara Bach, she was beautiful.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Number 4 of the best Bond girl names, according to Yahoo. Dr. Madeline Swan.
I don't think so.
No.
What?
No. In both
that is
Spectre
right.
and No Time to Die. We're talking about the names, not even the performance, just the names. Number 3. If I say Thunderball, Mark, you say
Fiona Volpe.
correct. Domino Derval.
Oh, yeah, Domino. Well, there were 2 women in that movie, 2 main women. Fiona died. She did a Thunderball showing at the New Beverly a few years ago. She let me hug her.
Ooh.
I got to hug elderly Fiona.
It's the same woman, though.
Yeah.
Number 2 of the best Bond girl names, according to Yahoo. Ursula Andress coming out of the water in the waves as Honey Rider.
Yeah.
That's fair. I'll give him that one.
Uh-huh.
Now get ready to throw your phone at the wall for number 1. Do you have any guesses?
We've already gone through the really nasty ones, so I'm going to guess the Countess Teresa de Vincenzo.
Okay. We'll see if you're right. Number 1 is the best Bond girl name, according to Yahoo, is Vesper Lynd from the Daniel Craig era.
Fair. She's got a drink named after her.
I know. I
Fair.
get, look, I will always be a fan of PG. Bottom line, this should have been number 1 without even seeing the list. That has to be the best name.
Also, Ava Green is competitive, I think.
Okay.
as a nice Bond lady. We
Got to update it.
just like the nice exercise.
A nice
lady.
Bond
Now
lady.
we have,
the Bond lady. They're
the
not
nice Bond
girls.
lady.
They're
Yeah.
Bond ladies.
We got to remember that when she comes back.
Yeah, this is definitely
Vesper
suspect list. And I liked Casino Royale. I liked her role.
I
in
liked the name Vesper Lynn. It did stick with me though.
it. It did. I just didn't think it was the top of the list.
No.
No, maybe not the top. I mean, PG definitely is up there.
It's hard to disassociate the woman from the name.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
that's why I like Mo kept saying the best name. Not
Yeah.
the woman, not the girl, not the actress.
Yeah,
The one
not the
from
performance.
The one from the Moonraker novel that I want to see in a film at some point is Gala Brand. She's a great character, and you've never seen the story of Moonraker yet because they did that silly one instead of the one that Ian Fleming wrote.
Well, I'd still appreciate the love scene in Moonraker. Floating with the sheets and everything.
What's he doing, sir? I think he's attempting re-entry. How did they get away with that?
Dr. Goodhead. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, a little on the nose. So
Sort of speak. Yeah.
So it wasn't Inya Amasova?
No.
What did you say, Enya?
Enya. All
Anya
Enya.
Amasova.
Enya?
Enya.
Amasova. That's what I always thought it was. Okay. All right.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
And before we go, Mark, you honestly are a huge James Bond fan, more than just the movies. You understand the books, the history, the cultural relevance. Have we seen the last of Bond for a while, given this fight over the intellectual property?
I don't know, but I kind of hope that they take a little break, and I really admire Barbara Broccoli for calling the people at Amazon, I think it was effing idiots.
Yes, effing idiots.
Because they want to just strip mine it, spin things off, and don't treat it as the really special property it is. We could take a break. We've had plenty for a while. And it's hard to decide what to do with it now anyway, because there was already the problem of bringing Bond up to the date to current times when, Ian Fleming created him in the early 50s, and the character made sense then during the Cold War and with his treatment of women and booze, and, you can go down the laundry list. But now it's kind of a tall order to decide what direction to take Bond in, especially after the Bourne movies and the Tom Cruise Mission Impossible movies kind of upped the ante on things that we first saw in James Bond movies. They did it better.
And spycraft, or at least our conception of spycraft, is very different. It's less about the asset, more about the technology. And it's not as bang, bang, shoot 'em up, my way of expressing it, than what we conceived of it 40, 50 years ago.
Well, Bond was always meant to be pulpy adventures and not realistic in any way. If you want the realism, you go for John le Carré. And like that agency show and the bureau show that it's based on, the French show, Bond is pure fantasy from the get-go.
Well, I hope they do get it right. And if that means, to your point, not rushing, waiting a while, let the franchise cool off, get the right actor, I'm okay with that. Because even though I'm not the biggest Bond fan, I enjoy a very good Bond movie. I'm willing to wait for a good one.
Me too, and we haven't had a good one for a while. The last couple were nearly unwatchable to me. I know some people liked them, but
I didn't mind No Time to Die or Spectre, for that matter.
really, tell me why.
Oh, excuse me, Skyfall. Skyfall.
Well, people love Skyfall, and I don't. I think it looks terrific, but why did you like it?
Part of it was an homage to what Bond was with the Aston Martin and how it was retrofitted to the classic Bond movies. In other words, we're acknowledging the past, but they're setting it in a contemporary setting. Judi Dench, just all those things. I felt like I was watching a genuine Bond movie, and I enjoyed the fact that we got to learn something about his childhood and upbringing and why he was an orphan and what sort of shaped him in a psychological way.
Yeah, that was all made up crap that they just added that had nothing to do with the character as we know him. And I thought it really took away a lot of the mystique from Bond. I mean, you got to remember that Bond really isn't a nice guy, and there's probably something severely wrong with him on top of that.
But see, that's what I liked it, because they showed him as a frail alcoholic whose skills were declining because of his alcoholism, couldn't shoot straight, all of those things.
Yeah, and I think all that did was just make him seem ordinary. I don't want to know about the repercussions of Bond's alcoholism. I want to see him order a drink and enjoy it and leave the rest of that stuff for a lesser character.
All right, then. Well, you could, if you add something or take something away, you're going to have to add something. If you take away the womanizing, for example, and you take away that facet of the character, then you're going to have to add something else. We need to know something about his backstory. We need to know, and I think that's why Casino Royale was so good for me, because you got to see in the subsequent movies why he never had a legitimate relationship with anyone, because the first time he opens up and actually falls in love with someone, as far as we know, Casino Royale, she betrays him.
Yeah, and that last line of the novel, I had kind of hoped the movie would end there, and it's not a spoiler. The last line of Ian Fleming's 1953 Casino Royale is, "The bitch is dead." He's talking about Vesper Lynd. And then they tack on this whole overblown building in Venice sinking set piece thing that goes on forever and ever. I thought there was a lot to love about Casino Royale, but it just, as it ages, it strikes me as just way too much.
I don't think there's a better poker scene than in that iteration of Casino Royale. It's one of my favorite movie moments when he's sitting down there and, basically Bond gets his ass whooped the first time.
Yeah.
And the arrogance of the moment, and he can't see it. He thought he had Mads Mikkelsen. He thought he had him.
Yeah, it takes a really good writer and director to make card playing tense and interesting, and they really have you on the edge of your seat with that. And it was also kind of gutsy to change it. I think they played Texas Hold'em.
Yes, he did. They played Texas Hold'em.
Clearly, Bond never plays Texas Hold'em in any of the books that I can recall. He plays Baccarat. He plays, I think he plays gin. M brings him to a club, and I think it's Moonraker. But, that was one update that I didn't mind at all. That scene was really tense. Texas
Hold'em is, yes, that's what people are playing contemporary. That's what people are playing. It made perfect sense. But I hope we get to see a true to form Bond movie in the next 5 years or so. And yes, they got to get the right actor, but they also got to get the right story.
And by the way, one thing to keep in mind is that he's not supposed to be good at this stuff, and that pisses off his bosses. He's not supposed to have these upper crust tastes. He's a civil servant, and it makes everybody above him annoyed that he knows all these wines and their vintages and all this kind of stuff. James Bond is not an aristocrat. He's a guy who thinks he could die, and when he does, he doesn't want a penny left in his bank account.
But in Casino Royale, on the train, they delve into that. They talk about his backstory where, like, you wear the fancy suits. I'm paraphrasing. You wear the fancy suits, but you almost have disdain for what they represent.
Yeah, and the thing is, as much as I like Ava Green, I don't need Bond psychoanalyzed on the screen in front of me either, because we can infer all that about him. Character is displayed through actions, not clunky exposition like that.
Well, you're just wrong and I'm right, damn it. Let's leave it at that.
On that note,
Happy New Year.
News without the skew.
KFI
And KOST HD2.
Los Angeles, Orange County.
Live